That's just fucking weird.
Are you recording on YouTube?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not fucking doing a live stream. No, I'm editing this motherfucker. I'm editing this motherfucker.
Oh.
Because you and I are probably gonna ramble quite a bit, and I kind of want this to be a little concise. What, were you planning on just doing it, like, live on YouTube for your solo one for False Cathedrals?
Probably.
No. Yeah, but then you wouldn't be able to... Well, I mean, I guess, like, what you could do on your phone's camera is, like, you could Skype me on your computer and just have me off screen. That way, like, you still get the... I won't say emotional support, because, let's face it, it's me.
Yeah, no emotional support.
No, it'll just be me off screen, like, you fucking suck. Cutting that out, by the way, because I will be in charge of editing this motherfucker. I will say this time around reading it, it didn't feel like an afterthought as to where when I read it for the beta, I'm just like, this feels so rushed. This romance feels not even rushed, forced.
Well, now you understand why I had that ridiculous scene in colleagues and coffee metaphors.
You mean coffee and colleagues metaphors?
Yes, that one.
That wasn't even like between... The part that I was pointing out wasn't even between Graves and Tierney. That was between Hobbes and Moore. And even there with Hobbes and Moore, it was a little more, I guess, believable. Like, because there was like a slight hint of flirtation from Moore.
Just a flavor.
Yeah, just the flavor, and then she winks. So, I was like, oh.
Are we on to the review portion now?
No, we're not. This might be like a cold open where I'm just bitching about your book.
Oh, well, I guess dish away.
I guess no. I'm gonna count that as part of the review. Maybe, who knows? We'll see what we'll see what happens when I put on the editing cap.
See what happens.
What is there to say about How to Cure? That
It was garbage.
No, it actually wasn't though. Like
Oh,
beta version. I will be full on honest. Didn't care for it. Didn't care. I had grandfather's disposition about the fucking church, about the book. It's just a book. They're just characters. I have no reason to care. Like, but you really improved. You stepped up your game with the added parts. Like fucking, what was it? Chapter 24? No, it was 34. 34. Pretty sure.
I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
I don't
30.
remember all the parts that I added and the parts that I didn't.
34. When Hope is in that dream where she goes into one of those buildings and sees said character. Because, well, no. Fuck you guys. Spoiler warnings. When she sees McNabb. That's your spoiler warning, by the way. Who gives a shit? Anyway. So, when it comes to the... I'm just going to throw it in with structure in terms of this. When it comes to pacing, you hit the ground running pretty much with How to Cure. It's not so fast-paced, though, where you can't, like, grab onto something. You do take your time getting to that moment in chapter 1. And even chapter 2, where you're finally introduced to the main character of the book, and the rest, and I guess the rest of the crew, or at least the children. The second most important character, and like some of the minor. And at the end of chapter 2, you're kind of given the name of Hobbs. So, and then of course chapter 3 ends. It ends with that really dark humor that I love. When
it was really dark, wasn't it?
And I just love the little like hints at what has occurred. Because like you hear not you hear, but like you're told that the explosion is distant in the background, and like of course, like there's that possibility like maybe it was like a stray bomb, but it's it's brought at the very end when Rosen and Illigeni are exchanging money, and one of them's laughing, Rosen. Then you realize, oh, okay. So he's dead.
I went into further detail because I mean it was a slightly like it was darkly funny, but it was still a tragedy because the team actually didn't care about what happened to Poulter.
Well, yeah, but like since you as the reader are given so little time with Poulter.
Yes.
That it's like, okay. But you do sort of slow down a bit after you get a bit in, but it's not so slow that you're like, oh my god, when is this going to like get to a next good part? Because you introduce Degas, you introduce more Darkseers, so like you keep things interesting, but in terms of like forward momentum, it's just like, wow, okay, like I would say it probably slows down after the mall.
Okay.
And then when they're planning the church, the synagogue, and the school, that's where it's like they spend a lot of time there, and I mean it makes sense because like it's not all three locations aren't in the same place. There's one in, I want to say, New Hampshire.
Yes.
One in California.
Two in California.
Okay, so two are in California, one's like on the other side of the nation. So like, okay, like there, like, yeah, you have to like do the setup with all that. So like that makes sense why it slows down there, but it's like it kind of loses its momentum because of that plan. But then it picks right back up as soon as we enter Perdita. And then it's like, and even though some could say, but I would say the fact that it's more than likely intentional that you grind to a halt when Tierney's in Perdita is a good thing, like, because she's essentially being tortured, so like you want the reader to feel that. So yeah, like when it comes to pacing and the structure of the story, even with like the flashbacks, which I don't do that great with italicized words, like reading them. My eyes just don't process. So like that kind of irked me a little bit, but like you get used to it after the second page. But I just remember. No, it's not your fault. It's my eyes' fault. I'm pretty sure other people don't get bothered by italics. So like whenever I'd see a flashback, I'm like, okay, just brace yourself. You're gonna have to read this for a while.
I tried to make the flashbacks important enough to mean something.
Yeah. So, like, I'm not gonna fault you for that. That's just those are my eyes being stupid.
Were you wearing your glasses at the time?
I would put on my glasses for those moments. Otherwise, I'm a stubborn asshole and just don't want to wear my glasses.
You stubborn?
No, not at all. So, like, your structure, like, especially, like, incorporating those flashbacks, as I know they weren't there, or they weren't all there. There were a few flashbacks in the beta. The fact that you did that really well was, like, good. The only thing that kind of, like, docked you was... Damn, that's hot. Was that those 2 chapters where you bounce kind of back in time. It's not a flashback, but you bounce back at the convention. And it was just like I was reading this dialogue all over, because those 2 chapters, like, I read pretty much, like, in one sitting. And I'm like, I've already read this. Is this a typo? Like, did you forget that you wrote? And then, like, I kept reading. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I wanted to show...
You wanted to show both...
That specific environment to show 2 different reactions to it, because those are pretty extreme reactions from people who have had pretty extreme experiences.
Yes.
And so being in that specific, like, just to show you where they were mentally, if that makes sense. It makes sense.
But, like, okay, so, like, you know, for me, like, to indicate a change in perspective, I either do, like, in Arcadia, I basically did an ellipses as the break, and then in False Cathedrals, I did, you know, the Roman numerals. I think it was the fact that, like, the switch didn't occur until the next chapter.
Okay.
That I was like, had it been in the same chapter and you did, like, spaces with those, like, triangles that are in the book, then I would have known a little more clearly. I'm like, okay, we're switching perspectives now.
Okay. Would that have made for too long a chapter?
You're asking the wrong person, because I have a 74-page chapter.
That's true.
But
that was primarily why I did them as separate chapters, because I didn't want to spend one whole chapter on just that convention. I wanted people to be able to, like, take breaks.
Yeah. No. I get why you did it. It's just when it comes to...
It's a jolt.
It's kind of a jolt, because, like, you're going to the next chapter and you're still at the convention, so you just immediately think, like, okay, I'm in... Well, no, you're told that you're in McNabb's perspective, but, like, you're not really, like, told, like, you've kind of jumped back. So when you read that bit of dialogue the second time, I was just like, I've read this. Like, why are we doing this again? And then it kind of, like, I'm like, oh, okay, we're revisiting this scene again, but through her eyes. Like, I feel like this would have made more sense viewing it as, like, 2 different episodes of a show, like, where, like, the one episode is Tierney's perspective and, like, you're revisiting, but, like, this time the camera is following McNabb. Because, like, they do that with, like, I think season 3 of Arrested Development, where, like, all of the episodes of that season are all occurring at the same time. You're just getting different characters' perspectives on the events.
Okay.
So, like I said, like, that's the only place where, like, your structure deep down to a 9 instead of a 10. Obviously, not to sound self-important or anything, but your formatting gets a 10.
That's because you did it. You would give yourself a 10.
Yeah. I mean, I worked with what you gave me. It's not even all me, because like there were those bits in chapter 30 where like the font leaves its traditional blocked format, and you're kind of like following the steps of Tierney as she's actually doing it, and you kind of I'll say that was fun. That was fun to do. You know what wasn't fun to do?
I go see Vixies.
Yeah, those. Fuck you. Anyway, your characters. When it comes to your characters, you have a few good ones, and then you kind of have other characters that just feel like shadows of other characters. Especially okay, like there were two desert scenes that pretty much happened like back to back from two different characters, and it just felt very similar in terms of mindset. I'm just like, yeah, I don't think, given Locke's experiences, he wouldn't view or even think about the desert in terms of how he's viewing it, which felt kind of similar to how Tierney viewed it. I'm just like, no.
Okay.
And I will say this time around, I felt like I got enough of Grandfather. Like, I want more, but I got enough of him in this book. Because, like,
Grandfather?
I enjoy that man. I also like his brother. Like, other than, like, Graves, Tierney, Hobbs, Grandfather, and Seymour, everyone else just kind of blurred into the background a bit. Like, even Brenda, I didn't feel like, you know, because like the handlers, they always kind of like reference her as like she's kind of like this driving force, and like you do as she says. I'm just like, I really don't feel like, other than chapter 1 where she, you know, does what she does, other than that, I'm just like, I'm not an underage trafficked, you know, sex machine, toy, whatever.
There are lots of women out there who would wish to disagree.
I just felt like there wasn't really much to fear when it came to like her presence.
I tried to highlight that in chapter 1. Like, as nasty a character as she is, as nasty a person as she is, she still has to answer to Pharrell.
Yeah. It's just like when it comes to the end where like the characters that are still living,
How did you view her?
like she's the character that brings the plot to the characters. Like near the end of the book, you are given that glimpse of like she's actually not that in control of the situation. So anyway, now when it comes to length, I put you at an 8 out of 10 on length, because I mean it is pushing close to, you know, not halfway to 500, but between 400 and 500, it's almost halfway between. It's 439 pages, and here's where it's like I'm conflicted. Feel like I told you earlier, like there are a few things where I'm just like, those could have not been in the book, and I probably would not have missed them. I get why they were there, because they do set things up later, but I was just like, in the moment, it was just like, why do I care? Why do I care that he has a cabin? I don't care. Fuck the cabin. Anyway. So like,
So
but
what you're telling me is that I did a very good rendition of Victor Hugo
Yes.
in How to Les Miserables.
Yes. Now, and that's where it's
You
like...
might want to explain that for people who don't know.
I'm not explaining it. She can explain it in False Cathedrals' review, because it's her book that she likes to bitch about.
It was great.
What was it, 60 pages? How long was that book? How long was that, not book, how long was that chapter, or sequence?
The sequence I'm referring to from Les Mis?
Yes.
It was like 67 pages. 57 pages. 57 pages about the Battle of Waterloo. And you didn't know why it was important until you got to the end. You couldn't skip anything.
Anyway.
I wasn't trying to do that, but I liked the idea, so it may have bled into How to Cure.
Yeah, it wasn't that painful. Or as painful. Yeah, anyway.
God damn it.
Wasn't that painful. I was... Yeah. Anyway. But, like, it's also, like, flipped, where it's like it felt like it was too long, but there are also parts where it's like, I want more of someone else's backstory, or I want this bit to be just a little bit longer. Like, I actually wanted the Perdita sequence and the... Is the ice place still Perdita, or is that, like, a completely different...
It's different.
Okay. We don't know the name because it's never brought up. I'm just going to call it Antarctica.
You wouldn't be wrong.
Just going to call it Antarctica, and the first one is, like, Arizona.
In a way, no, not Arizona, Death Valley.
Oh, like, yeah, Death Valley, yeah. So
Death Valley, but all day, there is no nighttime.
God. Anyway.
I'll tell you this. The scene, once I finished writing The Fall of Sagarmatha, the scene in the ice is gonna make a little bit more sense.
It's not that it didn't make sense in How to Cure.
Well, you'll understand why it's not wrong to compare it to Antarctica.
Oh, okay. So, like, yeah, so, like, it could have been shorter, but there are parts where, like, oh, no, I would have rathered, like, more time with... I could have... this might just be the masochist in me, or maybe the sadist, because it's not happening to me, it's happening to...
Me?
Yeah, yeah, I guess you could say it's happening to you, but to Tierney, I could have kept her in Perdita and Antarctica forever, and just dealt with her and the voice on the wind.
You hated the voice on the wind.
I liked him this time around.
Really?
Yes. For some reason,
Why?
He's an asshole. So for the reason that I hated him, I'm like, no, fuck, I like him now because he's an asshole.
So, it just feels like that.
I grew emotionally, and I became more of a dick, and I just appreciate assholes. I'm actually going to flip the score a bit. Your score stays the same. It's 9.5. But I'm going to flip it in terms of what got what. Your concept gets a 4.5. Because political thriller. But your execution gets a 5.
You're docking me for...
No, I'm not even docking. I'm switching the points around. You still get a 9.5 out of 10 for that bracket. But I'm just flipping which one gets shat on. Yeah, I'm docking half a point because of the genre.
That's fair. That's fair. I've done that.
And that's why your plot gets a 7, is because it's just a political thriller. It's just a building. Like, so your style gets a 9 out of 10. I explained to you why I didn't get a 10 out of 10, because there's... Well, style and diction get a dip from being perfect 10s to 9s, is because when I feel like you're, like I said, when you're distancing yourself psychically from the character's inner dialogue and being more of the narrator, you all of a sudden jump right back into the character's head and it's not really a smooth transition. It's just like you read that part, and like if you would have just left off that one little sentence in chapter 1. It's chapter 1, page 10. It's like playing for the long. He was waiting, playing for the long haul, waiting for what and on whom was entirely unknown to everyone, even his own family, and perhaps Merc himself, the dumb piece of shit. And it's like, yeah, but I feel like you weren't in Kilgard's head at that moment.
Okay.
So like the dumb piece of shit was just like, oh, you jumped back. But then like in the next, when you go to that singular sentence paragraph, all the better for Brenda Kilgard, and now you're back to being distanced. And it's like, if you just took off the dumb piece of shit bit, you would stay distanced from Brenda, still distanced, and then right up until it's where the pretty little paramour enters the scene, and now you're back in her head. Like, so, and then obviously, like, our bare minimum to get a 10 on quotes was that have at least 5 quotable moments. And you got exactly 5, so...
Barely scraping in under the bar.
Barely getting that perfect score there.
Okay.
And then overall satisfaction's an 8.5. Simply because, one, and you're just gonna get shat on this little aspect of the book probably till the day you die, in 10 years. It's a political thriller. What did help boost your score back up to what it became was because we did add the extra credit of being thought-provoking, and there were moments that, while I won't say it made me change my opinion, it made me consider, I won't say hearing out because I'm reading the damn thing, but considering the other side of the opinion, which is where like I kind of really sort of related to Graves's perspective after Perdita, where it's like, like your shoe's just missing kind of thing. But like, like obviously there was, some supernatural element to the missing shoe.
What docked me on extra credit?
What docked you?
Yeah.
It wasn't anything new. It just like, it made me like for a moment, I won't say question, but like kind of reconsider the thought process behind those who actively seek out guidance through a higher being.
That's a very polite way of putting it.
That's how I'm choosing to say it. But like it didn't alter my view. It didn't quote unquote bring me back to the light. Which is a failure on your part. No, I'm kidding.
Well, thank God, because that wasn't the point.
Steering away from religion. It also kind of, and even and it probably, I guess I could probably chalk this up to the fact that was reading this again after having written False Cathedrals, I was more receptive to the hope, like finding hope when there seems to be none.
Okay.
So that boosted it back. So yeah. Anyway, overall, you got a 95 out of 100. I will add the scores to my right in post, and that way people can get a visual representation of how I did it. But yeah, How to Cure, A grade work without the extra credit though. It's a mid to high B.
I'll take it. That was higher than I anticipated.
But no, like anyone who likes political thrillers, I would recommend this book to them. Like, it's not a book that I'd be like, yeah, I read it, I enjoyed it, but I'm not gonna tell anyone about it. Like, no, I will be. Like, if I see someone on Twitter is like, oh, I like reading political thrillers and I like reading like books where, you know, characters are questioning their morals or doing this, I'll be like, hey, I've got a book for you. First off, let me ask, are you okay with like supernatural elements that are very religiously leaning in terms of its content? And then if they're okay with that, then I'll just send them a link. But yeah, that was How to Cure. Hope you enjoyed hearing me ramble to a disembodied voice that was sent to me via satellite to my phone. Yes, this is the voice on the wind. This is my asshole.
Okay, firstly, I am not a voice on the wind. Okay. Technically, I'm a voice over satellite. Secondly, you are kind of right about me being an asshole.
Anyway.
But there's a nice way to say it.
Yeah, she's my not so better half.
Accurate.
She's my tumor. I mean, it's not malignant, it's benign. It's probably something that I should probably tell people about. Like, yeah, by the way, like, kind of be gentle, I've got a tumor. It's not going to kill me, it's there. She's like a mole.
Wow. That's...
You know I care about you.
Put me in my place, haven't you?
I should probably get her cut off, just in case. But I kind of like it. It gives character.
I feel like you're going out of your way to insult me.
Not at all. I'm like sincerely trying to be genuine.
You're not going out of your way. It's just kind of already in your vocabulary.
It's just part of me. I could try to compliment you to the best of my ability and would probably still sound like an insult.
It would definitely make me feel, as you well know.
Well, when I am nice to you, you get paranoid, so...
I assume you're leading up to something.
I'm dying. We all are, act accordingly.